Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, yes, I want to give just a few more minutes, see if anybody has joined. So what about, so let's, another 5 minutes, we can start, 9:10. Come back to you then.
Mm.
20th of November 2021. James Thompson and Miss Hill. Okay, good morning again, I guess. Oh, I see Mr. Butler joining. All right, good morning again. Miss Hill, are you there?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Miss Thompson, you still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Mr. Butler?
Hello.
Morning. Okay. All right, well, I guess this is a good morning to have this ability to attend class through Zoom. I don't know about your side, but it's raining heavily where I am. So I'm glad I don't have to go out on the road. But this morning we're a little closer to the end. We are on lesson 10, looking at mortgages, this chapter. I have a few questions here that I want you to look at. I'm going to show a short video. And so as you watch that video, I just want you to, I know you might have some answers already in your mind, but I just wanted to listen to the video and see if any of those questions are answered. And also, I don't know if you have any questions regarding the homework, Miss, was it Miss Hill? You had asked me a question about something with one of the assignments.
Yes.
I responded to you. I don't know if you saw my response.
I saw the response.
Does it make any sense?
I read it, but I didn't get an opportunity to actually try it to see
Okay.
the difference.
Okay, because basically with that one, you have to use the formula because the book doesn't have 2.5%. But I see where you were using the formula, but the question actually is a two-part question. The first 3 years, the person invested $30,000. So you're going to work out the future value for $30,000 for 3 years. So that would be, since it's semi-annual, it would be 6 periods, and it would be 2.5% per period. And then when you get that answer, then you're going to add it to the 80,000 that they added to their investment. So whatever answer you got from that 30,000 future value, you're going to add 80,000 to it. And then you're going to now work out another 3 years at whatever that interest rate is. I think it's 5%. So it'll be 2.5% per period for 6 periods. And that would give you the full amount that they would have after 6 years. So 3 years was 30,000, and the other 3 years from year 4 to 6 would be that 30,000 plus the interest plus the other 80,000 that was added to that investment. So that's how you would work that. But I think the answer that's in the slide is a $1 difference because the book used the table, whereas since we're using the formula, you get a little more accurate answer. So you should get something very close. I think it's just like $1 off. So if you still don't get answer, then you could send me an email and I could you could show me what you did, and then I could let you know where you may have had some issues with that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Butler, I didn't see you last week. Hello.
Yes, sir.
I didn't see you last week.
Yeah, I wasn't able to make
Okay.
class last week.
But I sent the stuff to you, so I hope you got a chance to look at it and do the homework.
I flipped through the slides, but I didn't get the option and when I plan to go into office later on this weekend, I'll go through it in detail.
Okay.
If there's any complications, so I know it again.
Okay. All right. Okay, so this video is about 3 minutes, so I'm going to do that now, and then we could talk about these questions afterwards. Let's see. Video.
What is a mortgage? Presented by WallStreetSurvivor.com. A mortgage is a loan by a bank or other financial institution that a person can use to finance the purchase of a home. A mortgage is different from other loans, like personal or student.
Is it just
I just
me
want to
or
pause that. Are you here?
no? Not clear. It just is
Are you
about
hearing the sound?
no, not clearly.
Oh,
It's very low.
okay. Let me try again. Okay. Let's see if it's on. Okay, let me double check. Again.
What is a mortgage? Presented by WallStreetSurvivor.com. A mortgage is a loan by a bank or other financial institution that a person can use to finance the purchase of a home. A mortgage is different from other loans, like personal or student loans, since the bank can use your house as collateral. Meaning, if you don't pay the bank back on time, they can take possession of your home. Here's Mark and Lisa. Mark and Lisa are newlyweds, looking to buy their first home. After a long search, they find the perfect home, with the not-so-perfect price tag of $500,000, more than they have in the bank. What are they to do? Mark and Lisa head over to the bank. The banker suggests that they take out a mortgage to finance the home. The banker asks them how much they are willing to put down as a down payment. The down payment is the amount that Mark and Lisa pay up front. Usually, a down payment needs to be at least around 20% of the price of the home, but this amount varies from bank to bank. Mark and Lisa have been saving for a while and decide to put down $100,000, meaning they will need to borrow an additional $400,000 to buy the house. The banker reviews Mark and Lisa's credit reports and income statement and grants them a $400,000 mortgage at a fixed rate of 5% with a 5-year term and a 40-year amortization period. That means Mark and Lisa must pay a 5% interest rate to the bank per year. The fixed 5-year term means Mark and Lisa are locked into this rate for 5 years, regardless of whether the interest rates go up or down. Conversely, they could have taken a variable or floating rate, which goes up and down with the interest rates. Fixed rates are considered to be the safer choice, but are often a little more expensive than variable rates. The amortization period is the length of time Mark and Lisa will take to pay off the loan and own their home entirely. So, with monthly interest and principal payments, they will be the sole owners of their home in 40 years. The advantages to taking a mortgage should be pretty clear. Instead of putting money into a landlord's pockets by paying rent, every time they make a mortgage payment, they own a little more of their home. Currently, the house is split between equity, what Mark and Lisa own, and debt, what the bank owns. Every time they make a payment, they turn some of their debt into equity. Also, Mark and Lisa could make a nice profit if the value of their home appreciates. For example, imagine Mark and Lisa get an offer to sell their home for $600,000 the day after they bought it. Mark and Lisa and the bank aren't partners. They don't have to split the profits. So let's say they take the offer and sell the house. They collect $600,000 from the buyer and pay back the $400,000 loan to the bank. Just like that, they doubled their $100,000 investment. To learn more about mortgages and other personal finance topics, head over to WallStreetSurvivor.com.
Okay, so not sure what happened there, but sorry about the sound. The okay, but I think there was enough graphics in there for you to at least get a sense of some of the content. So the first thing we need to look at is the difference between a mortgage and a personal loan. What's the difference? Mr. Butler?
Yeah, so
First question, what's the difference
hello.
between a mortgage and a personal loan?
Um, based on assumption, mortgage, the cost of a mortgage is usually a bit higher um than a personal loan. A mortgage is usually shared between more than one person to pay it out. Then a personal is singular. Um,
Well, I basically wanted to find out what's the purpose of a mortgage compared to a
okay.
personal loan.
So the purpose of a mortgage is finance a dwelling place, and the personal loan is a facility to finance like personal expenses, maybe like
Okay.
travel or
Okay. So the mortgage
vacations, those
basically,
kind of things.
all right. So mortgage in for our case is basically for purchasing home or some property, real estate. That's the essence of the mortgage. And the sort of advantage, well, not I shouldn't say advantage, just the sort of difference with the mortgage and the personal loan is that oftentimes with a mortgage, your house is a form of collateral where if you don't pay, the bank can take it. Whereas oftentimes with personal loans, there's not much to take unless you probably maybe a vehicle, maybe, which is a kind of huge investment. But if you're taking a loan for travel or to buy other items that the bank wouldn't have an interest in holding because it would be kind of a liability to them, then that's the difference. The mortgage, they could actually repossess the home if you do not pay. But essentially, it's for purchase of real property. And then for this chapter, we're focusing on homes. Ms. Thompson, what did they say was the down payment required?
I couldn't get a video. I thought I
Okay,
had no sound.
but from your experience,
I really can't remember.
is there a fixed amount? Does every bank have the same amount?
So it's not a fixed amount. I think it's a certain percentage.
Okay. All right. So in the video, it said 20%, but it also said that it varies from bank to bank. So it varies from bank to bank. I think in the Bahamas, at some point it was even as low as 5%, but it varies from between 5 and 20. And also, I guess it also depends on the age of the person trying to get the mortgage. So the younger you are, probably the lower the rate could be, whereas the older you are, the higher that deposit may required may be. It also has to do with your earnings and so on. So, and your standing with the bank, but it varies. So it's not a flat rate, but essentially what we want to know is that there is a down payment. Okay, so you don't get 100% mortgage. You usually have to pay something down, and then the bank would finance the rest. Okay, Miss Heald, what reviews will the bank consider before issuing a mortgage? Did you get at that from the video?
I was able to have a video, but I could say based on what I experienced to work. What we do is we would do credit history, credit reference from that customer.
Mhm.
We would need a pay slip,
Okay.
identifying any deductions that may be already coming out of that person's salary. Also, a
Mm.
job letter confirming that person's salary,
Okay.
their tenure.
Okay. All right. So your experience answered all the questions. But basically, from the video, what they're saying is the credit rating, which we don't exactly have here, but I think banks have a way of working it out from the questions that they ask you. I get the impression that they're working on developing a credit rating system locally.
We,
There's, yeah,
sorry, we normally would ask the customer to provide printouts from all of the facilities that they have from different institutions.
okay. All right. So within you have your own in-house credit rating then.
Yes.
Okay. So as it is now, I think attempts have been made to do a national credit rating system. I'm not sure how far it is in progress, but I know up to sometime last week there was talk about that. So I guess we'll see more of that in the near future. But each bank would have their own way of trying to determine your credit rating. And definitely they need some kind of income statement, so pay slips, and to examine how much money is coming out of your salary to know what your risk would be in terms of giving you this mortgage. Okay, thank you. So now we have two types of interest rates that were mentioned. Were you able to see what were the two types they mentioned?
I could remember one, maybe with the fixed rate.
Yeah, the fixed rate. And if you know fixed rate, then you should be able to figure out the other one. If it's not fixed, then it has to be
Variable.
variable. Okay. So I don't know if we have much choice here in the Bahamas. I think most of, as far as I know, it's usually fixed. Anybody could agree or disagree to that? As far
I
as you know.
I have a coworker of mine that told me that Scotiabank rate, it varies. It's up and down.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, they fluctuate based on the prime rate.
Okay. All right. So when you write the mortgage, they tell you a certain rate, but it's usually tied to the prime rate. So as the prime rate changes, then they'll adjust accordingly. Okay. So amortization period, what is that?
That
Term
is,
of the loan.
yeah, the duration.
Okay. All right. So that's how long it's going to take you to actually complete paying off that loan. And of course, it's usually in years. And what is equity?
Equity is the portion is the portion that you take out of the home to use to further finance it, or you take out the value of the home.
Um,
Like it,
okay. It has to do with the value of the home. So when you make payments towards the home, of course, you know, a portion of the payment is for interest and a portion is to reduce the principal. So oftentimes, persons would consider all the payments that you made towards the principal would be what is called equity. So that is the value that you actually have in the home. So sometimes people would use that. So let's say you paid for 5 years, the bank take out the interest, you reduce your principal, and so the value that you'd have reduced your principal by, you can use that. Some banks will actually give you a loan based on the equity that you have. So they'll say that, you know, you have invested so much in the house, so if you want a loan for that amount, you can use that as a sort of collateral for loan. Okay, so basically it's your investment in the home once they would have taken out their interest from your payments. And of course, the more you pay, the longer you pay, the more your equity increases. And once you finish paying, then the full amount or value of the house is your equity. Okay, so whatever the house is valued, that would be your equity. All right, so let's now look at, okay, so in your book on page 374, they discuss in print some of these terms that we just spoke about. And so if you want to read up on that, you can do so at your leisure, page 374. All right, I think we basically covered. The only thing we didn't look at was reverse mortgage, which is the last. Well, they have interest-only mortgage and reverse mortgage listed there, but I am not so sure. I don't know if any of you know that if we do interest-only mortgage or reverse mortgages in the Bahamas, but in the States, the interest-only mortgage, persons will take a mortgage and just pay the interest portion because their intent really is to sell the home. So they hold on to it. Instead of paying rent, you pay the interest and you're looking to sell the home at a later point at a higher price and make a profit. Okay, so that's the essential purpose of the interest-only mortgage. The reverse mortgage is something that oftentimes is available to older persons, retired persons. I mean, it don't have to be, but typically that's what it is. So you may have some expenses. You may not have the funds for your daily expense. So what you do, you could, in a way, sell your house to the bank, if you want to call it that. And so the bank would advance you funds for your daily expense or for some other type of expense that you have. But essentially the bank owns the house. And so when you pass, the bank basically takes the home, sells it to recoup the money that they would have lent you. So basically using your home as a means of earning funds for your daily expense or some significant expense that you may have. Okay. I'm not sure if that's something that's practiced locally, but that's something that's mentioned in your text. Okay, so we're going to look at some of the calculations involved in working out the mortgage payments. So this section is looking at computing the monthly payment for principal and interest. So this person bought a home for $200,000, made 20% down payment. The mortgage is 9% for 30 years. And which of course that means that you would have made 360 payments. So you're asked to work out the monthly payment and the total cost of interest. Okay, so page 376 of your book gives a chart showing how we can work this out. Now, there's a table on that page. The table is your amortization table. And this table says it's the mortgage principal and interest per $1,000. Okay. Now, of course, there are other means. Of course, the Excel spreadsheet, you can use that as a means of working out using their amortization table. And of course, most banks now have it all computerized, but this is just to help you to understand how the process works. Now, because this is a table, it is rounded off to a certain number of places, so it wouldn't be as accurate as the computerized calculations, but it gives you a ballpark figure. So the first step here, it tells you is that you have to divide the mortgage by 1,000. And the only reason you're dividing the mortgage by 1,000 is because the table that you're using, if you notice at the top of the heading of the table, it actually says right here that this is, are you able to see my cursor?
Yeah.
Anybody? Yes,
Yes,
okay,
sir.
yeah, good. All right, so it says here that it's per 1,000. So that's the reason why we are dividing by 1,000. Okay, then it says look up the rate and term of the amortization in the amortization table. At the intersection of is the table factor. And then you're going to multiply your table factor by the answer you get when you divide the mortgage by 1,000. Okay, so in the case of what we're just looking at, this person is 9% for 30 years. So right away, 30 years right here, 9% here. So when you go down, and the intersection is 8.05. So the table factor for this particular mortgage would be 8.05. And so basically that's how we'd use a table, look for the percentage, the number of years, and the intersection of those two will give you the table factor. So this is a continuation of the table. So right here, it stopped at 11%. And on page 377 of your book, it continues 11.5 all the way to 15.5%. Okay, so now we're going to look at the question again. Now you notice here, it says that you're to divide the mortgage by 1,000. How much is the mortgage?
$200,000.
Okay, the home value is 200,000. The value of the home is 200,000. Will the bank give you the full amount?
No,
They give you a portion. So what portion you have to come up with?
20%.
In this case, 20%. All right. So the value of the home is 200,000, and he made a 20% down payment. So how much was the down payment then?
40,000.
40,000. So you have to find, so your down payment then would be equal to 0.2 times the 200,000, which is equal to $40,000. So if you have to come up with $40,000, then the mortgage amount, the amount the bank is going to lend you, would be equal to the $200,000 minus the 40,000, which is equal to $160,000. So you will see then in the calculation here, the first step they said was for you to divide the mortgage by 1,000 because of the table that we're using. So you divide 160,000 by 1,000, you get 160. And the table factor was 8.05. So when you multiply 160 times 8.05, that gives you $1,288. So basically what this is saying is that for that mortgage, this person will be paying the bank at $1,288 per month for 30 years. Okay. So they ask you now, they want to know what is the monthly payment and the total cost of interest. So if you're paying $128 sorry, $1,288 a month for 30 years, you will see at the bottom here where if you multiply $1,288 times 360, you get this amount on top, which is $463,608. So $463,680 over 30 years. And you actually borrowed from the bank $160,000. So the interest that you'd have paid over that 30-year period is $303,680 would be your total interest. So if you want to find the total interest, you're going to multiply your monthly payments by the amount of payments you would have made for the time of the loan, the amortization period. Then you subtract your mortgage amount from that, and that tells you what your interest is for the period. Any questions with that? Are we clear with that? Oh, Ms. Roll, you're with us. Daniel Roll, good morning.
Morning.
Mhm. Any questions with the what was displayed just now? No? Okay. All right, well, in that case then, I guess,
Question,
yeah.
maybe the 9%,
Mhm.
we didn't use that anywhere in the calculation.
Yeah, we use it in the table. See the
Okay.
9%
All
right here
then.
and the 30
the
years. Right.
Mhm.
So we
Okay.
didn't use it in the actual calculation of the mortgage, but we use it in the table itself.
All right.
Okay. Now, of course, there's a formula, but that formula is a little complex, so we're not going to be touching that. But that's how that comes in. And then we're going to be using it later on when we try to work out, because remember now, your payments, this $1,288 consists of the interest and the principal. So we're going to be using that 9% later on when we try to work out how much money goes to the bank for interest and how much goes to your equity to reduce the principal. Okay, so I'm gonna move on then. All right, so what we just did was this section right here. We just did 9%. Now, this section, we are looking at the effect of interest rates on monthly payments. So they're looking at now, suppose the interest rate wasn't 9%. Let's say it was 11%. 11%, what's the table factor for 11% at for 30 years? 11% for 30 years, what's the table factor?
9.53.
9.53, okay? So that's what we have right here. So if you are doing 11%, the table factor 9.53, we're still going to divide that 160,000 by 1,000, you get 160. When you multiply that, your answer for the monthly payment is going to be $1,524.80. So 2% increase in the mortgage rate causes your monthly payment to go up by $236.80. And over the life of the mortgage, you'll see the calculation here. When you multiply 1,524 times 360, and you subtract your mortgage amount that you borrowed from it, you end up with 388,000 as the total interest that you pay. and you compare that to 9%, which is 303,000. So over that 30-year period, 2% difference leads to a difference overall of 85,000. So sometimes people look and say, well, you know, the interest rate is a small difference, but over a period of time, that small difference can be very significant. All right, so that's why when we're shopping for mortgage, we try to see if we could find the best interest rate possible, because over time, even though there might appear to be small differences in the rate, over time, the difference will be significant. Okay, so that's just an example to show the effect of interest rates on your monthly payment. Now, here we're looking at another comparison. So here we have the effect of loan types on monthly payments. So they're asking you now, suppose Gary chose a 15-year mortgage instead of the 30-year mortgage, what would be the effect? So we already did the 30-year, and this is what we had for the 30-year. But if he decided to use a 15-year, do a 15-year mortgage, you go back to the chart, let's see, 15 years at 9%. This is the, that's 10.15 would be the table factor. Okay, and so they worked out the monthly payment to be $1,624. Okay, so that's, let me see, 10.15 times 160. Okay, well, 10.15 times 160 gives you $1,624. So the monthly payment ends up being a little higher, because at 15 years, you have a shorter time to pay, so you have to pay more per month. 30 years, it was $1,288. 15 years, it was $1,624 a month. So because you're doing 15 years, you're going to have 15 times 12, you're going to have 180 payments, and you multiply that by the 1624, subtract the, they subtract 1/6, that should be subtracting 160 instead of 140, so that's an error right there. Okay, but they have it. Okay. So in any event, when you make that subtraction, you will see where the total interest paid for 15 years is $100,912, whereas for 30 years, you're looking at 3 times as much. So if you cut the time in half, you end up paying a third less interest over the period of time. Okay, so basically what they're saying here, increasing interest rate leads to a higher overall interest, which is significant over time, and reducing the time of the mortgage significantly reduces the amount of interest you pay over time, even though the monthly payment is higher. Okay, so that's just a comparison of those two. Okay, so we're going to move on then to look at a few questions. I want you to look at the first one. Let's do the first one together, and then I'll let you do the other two. So the first one says you have a home. The selling price is $140,000. Your down payment is $10,000. What is your what would be your loan amount or mortgage amount in this case?
130,000.
Okay, so it'll be $130,000. Okay, 130,000. Okay, the rate is 3.5% for 25 years. So what would be the table factor there? Oh, we have to go back in. 3.5% for 25 years. Let's see.
5.01.
Okay, 3.5% for 25, 5.01. Okay, right there. Okay, so that would be 5.01. So we need to now work out the monthly mortgage payment. So what we're going to multiply that 5.01 by to get the monthly payment. What are we going to
We
multiply?
have to do the 130,000 divided by 1,000.
Okay, so it's going to be 130,000 divided by 1,000, and that gives us
130.
130. So now you're going to say 130 times 5.01, and that's equal to
$651.30.
651.30. Okay. All right. So that's how we get the mortgage payment monthly for that particular situation. All right, so let me see, 130 times 5.01. Okay, 651.30. Okay, so I want you to note the next two. This one, second one is 5.5% for 30 years. And the next one is 7% for 35 years. So I'm gonna just quickly go back to the table. So you're gonna look for the table factor for the 5.5% for 30 years. Make a note of that, 5.5% for 30 years. What would be the table factor for that?
5.68.
5.68. Okay. And then 7% for 35 years.
6.39.
Okay, so just make a note of those two. And then go back to the question now. And I want to do those two questions. Work out the monthly payment. Okay, Miss Knowles. Oh, she left. Oh. Miss Roll, what you got for number 2?
Morning. Number 2, the principal was 85,000.
Yeah, what you got for the monthly
The
payment?
actual answer, $482.80.
Okay. All right, that's correct. That's Miss Roll. Okay. Miss Thompson, what you got for the next one? Number 3. Miss Thompson?
Hey, I'm here. So I got a total of $894.60.
You're right. Thank you. 894.60. Okay. All right. Now, in number 4, it says, what is the total cost of interest for number 2? 15-2. So we said the answer for 15-2 was $482.80. The mortgage is for 30 years. Work out how much the person would have paid for interest over the period of time. Give you 2 minutes to work on that.
Question, how do we get to get on a principal?
Could you repeat that? Oh, you subtract the down payment from the selling price of the home.
Okay,
Oh, I didn't put those in it.
okay.
Okay, so this here should be.
No, the thing is, yeah, I just read something wrong. That's
Okay.
why. I need to put on my glasses. All right, yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
All right, anybody got the total yet?
I think I got it.
Mm-hmm.
I got 88,800.
I didn't hear it. You said 88,000.
$808.
Okay, so tell me what you did.
I times the 482.80 by 360. I got the 360 by times in the 30 years by 12.
Okay.
And I got a total of $173,808.
Say that again. 100 and.
$173,808.
Okay.
And then I subtracted that total by the 85,000. And it gave me the total of the 88,300.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so to find the total interest, we need to first of all find out how much money was paid overall or would be paid overall for the mortgage. So since the monthly payment was $482.80, we multiplied by 30 times 12, which is 360. So that's 360 payments that would have been made. So when you multiply that $482.80 by 360, you get $173,000, $173,808. That's the total amount of payments you would have made over the 30 years. And then you subtract the amount that was borrowed, which is 85,000. And so the interest portion then would be $88,808. Okay, so the last question for you to consider on this working out the mortgage payment is number 1511. So it is given to in word form. So this person bought a home for 140,000. The person puts a 20% deposit and got a mortgage for 30 years at 5.5%. What is the monthly payment, and what is the total interest on the loan? Okay, so I need to work that out. Okay, Mr. Butler, tell me what you have done so far.
Okay, now I'm working, finding the down payment. So I took 20% of 140,000. So just let me know if you have
0.2 times 140. Okay, so what is that equal to?
28,000.
Okay, so
Taking it
after you
to
found, okay, so the difference now would be 140,000 minus minus 28,000, and that gives you
112,000, sorry.
Okay. So what's the next step?
Finding the mortgage payment. So we take the 28,000 and divide that by 1,000.
Well, the 28,000 is the down payment. So you wouldn't do that with the down payment. You do that with your amount that you borrowed, your mortgage.
Oh, sorry, the principal, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 112 or 1,000.
And that gives you,
$112.
okay.
And you times that by the table rate, which is 5.68.
Okay. The table factor is equal to 5.68. So you say 112 times 5.68. And that gives you
636 and 16 cents. That's equal to mortgage payment.
okay. So each month you're going to be paying
$636.16.
okay, thank you. All right, so that is the mortgage payment. So now let me see, who do I have here? Miss Roll. Hold on, did I ask Miss Roll already something? Mr. Butler. All right, Miss Hill. Okay,
Hi.
the next part now ask you to work out the total interest cost of the loan. You did that portion yet?
Yeah, so
Okay, so what you did?
to find the total interest, I found the total payment.
Okay, so how you found the total payment again?
So I did 636.16 times 360 or 12 times 30. And I got 229,017,017.60.
Mm-hmm.
I subtracted the 112,000 from the 229,17,60, and I got the total of 117,017
Say that again, 100 and
$117,017.017.60.
okay. All right. Thank you. All right, so two parts to that question. So you had to define the monthly payment, which was $636.16, and then the total interest, which is $117,017.60 in total. Okay, so those are the type of questions you would be looking at in terms of working out your monthly payments and working out the total interest paid. So the next section of this chapter now deals with the breaking down the payments. Okay. Now, of course, in the purchase of a home, monthly payments is just a part of the whole calculation. We have some other costs that are involved. Okay. We have to pay the lawyers. We have to pay interest on the house. And of course, repairs and maintenance. And you'll see escrow. Some banks they force you to save money by insisting that you have what is called an escrow account. And what they do is, once they find out how much certain expenses are, like insurance, for example, they'll divide that by 12 and they'll require you to pay each month an amount so that at the end of the year, you will have enough money saved up to pay for that expense. Okay, so oftentimes, especially when you buy when you take out a mortgage, you have to pay the full house, and I mean, you have to insure the house fully for things like hurricane, flooding, etc. That's an expense that some people, if they don't have a mortgage, they wouldn't bother to pay because it's fairly expensive. But while you have a mortgage, you are required to pay it, and so to make sure that you're able to pay it, they often require that you create an account just for expenses like that. Okay. But of course, maintenance and repairs is usually covered by the property owner. But certain things like insurance, the banks want to make sure that the funds are there, so they require that you pay something towards that along with your mortgage. Okay, so your monthly payment that you pay that we just calculated before consists of essentially two parts: the portion that the bank charges for interest and the portion that reduces your principal. And so I think Mr. Butler asked about that percentage earlier. If we use the 9%, when you're calculating the monthly payment, the 9%, the interest rate is in the table factor. But when you're working out now how much money from that monthly payment goes to principal and how much goes to interest, then you definitely will use that 9%. So if you look at that same question that we did earlier with the person who bought the house for $200,000, we know that he borrowed $160,000. So if you look at how they work out the interest portion, you'll see in the chart at the top of the slide, it says first you have to calculate the interest for a month. Use the current principal. So of course, we're using the basic formula that interest equals principal times rate times time. And so after you do that, it says you have to calculate the amount used to reduce the principal and then calculate the new principal. All right. So the first step is to work out how much interest you have to pay. So you will see in step 1, it says right here, step 1, that the interest, they worked out the interest to be $1,200. So your monthly payment was $1,288 when we calculated that in that question earlier. So the principal, that's the amount that you borrowed, is $160,000. The rate is 9%, and you're paying for 1 month. So that's why you have 1/12 here. So when you multiply that out, you get $1,200. That's the interest. So that's step 1. So in the second step, okay, which is found on page 379 of your book, this example, it says the reduction of the $160,000 principal each month is equal to the payment less the interest. So you paid, your monthly payment is $1,288. We calculated the interest portion in the previous slide to be $1,200. So the bank is going to take that $1,200 as their interest out of your payment of $1,288. And so $88 will be left to go towards your principal. So in the first month of payment, you are going to take out that 88 out of the 160,000. And so you will now owe the bank $159,912. Okay, so the amount that you're going to reduce the principal by is $88, and your new principal for month 2 will be $159,912. Okay, of course, as you make more and more payments, the amount that goes towards reducing your principal will increase, and the amount that the bank takes off for interest will decrease. All right. But initially, the bulk of the money that you pay goes towards paying the bank interest, and it decreases over time. But that's how the calculation is done, as you see here. So you first work out the interest portion. You take the interest portion out of the monthly payment to find out how much you're going to reduce your principal by. Then you take that away from the balance to work out the same thing. But instead of using 160,000 that we use here, we're going to use $159,912, and we're going to find 9% of that times 1/12, and whatever that works out to. In fact, let me see. Okay, they do have it here. Okay, so on page 379, they do look at month 2. So in month 2, our new principal is $159,912. 9%, 1 month gives you $1,199.34. Your monthly payment is $1,288. You subtract the interest from that, so you're left now with $88.66 to reduce your principal by. So you reduce your principal by a little more than the previous month. The previous month, you reduce it by $88. The second month, you reduce it by $88.66. So your principal reduction went up by 66 cents. And so you subtract that from your second month principal. And so your third month principal will now be $159,823.34. Okay, so this is what you will go into your third month with, and you continue the same process month after month after month until the mortgage is paid off after 30 years. Okay, but as you can see, each time you do the calculation, the principal reduction should get higher and the interest portion should get lower. But the bank work it out so that they get their interest first, and then whatever is left goes towards reducing your principal. Okay, any questions with that? I don't hear anything, so I figure we got straight with that. So let me move to look at what happens here now. So we have the first two. So it was $88 that we're reducing by. Then the next month it was $88.66. And you'll see they didn't do the calculations for the rest of the month, but next month, the third month would be $89.32, then $89.99, then $90.67, then $91.35, $92. Okay, so every month there is a gradual increase in the principal reduction, and you will notice that the amount that goes towards the interest is going down. So we start off with $1,200, then we have $1199.34, $1198, $1198.01, $1197.33, $1196, $1195. Okay, And so each time you get the new principal reduction, you're going to reduce your principal by that amount. So at the end, in this case, at the end of 7 months, your principal is now $159,369.97 from the 160,000 that you started with. And so that process will continue for 360 cycles for a 30-year mortgage, when you would have finished paying off everything. And by that time, the principal reduction would be much higher and the interest would be much, much lower. Okay. So we want to look at some examples here. So we're going to do this first one, 15.6. We want to do that together. Then I want you to work on the next one. All right, so this 15.6, you have a house of selling price of 125,000. The down payment is 5,000. What is the amount of the mortgage?
$20,000.
120,000. Okay, 120. Okay. So in this case, we have a rate of 7% for 30 years. So what's our table factor?
6.66.
6.66. Okay, it's a table factor. So TF equal 6.66, 7% for 30 years. All right, so let's quickly look at that. 6% for 30 years.
7, eh?
Oh, 7%. Okay, sorry, 7% for 30 years, 6.66, right? Okay. So, all right, 6.66. So now what you're going to multiply that 6.66 by to get the monthly payment?
125.
Remember your mortgage amount is
The mortgage amount is 120.
120,000.
Sorry, 120. Not
Okay.
125.
So 120 times 6.66 gives us how much?
$709.07.
He said $712 and
$799.20.
okay, 0.20. Okay, so 799.20. So the next thing we need to do now is work out the interest portion of that. So your monthly payment is $799.20. So how are we going to work out the interest portion?
I equals P times R times T.
Okay, so the interest equals principal times rate times time. So the principal is how much?
Okay.
I didn't hear you. Somebody answered. What's the principal for this first one? 15-6.
120.
120,000. Okay. And the rate is?
That's 0.7, 0.7.
7%. 0.7 would be 70%.
Oh, sham.
0.07.
0.07. And your time is? It's your time.
30.
No.
1 divided by
1 over 12.
1 over 12. Right. So when you calculate that, what do we get?
700.
700. Okay. So your interest is $700. So what's the principal payment?
$99.20.
Okay, so your principal payment would be 99.20. And what's the balance at the end of the month?
$119,900.80. 0.80.
Okay. All right. So we're going to reduce the mortgage amount to 120,000 by 99.20. And so we'll get a balance of $119,900.80. So when you go into month 2, that's how much you're going to owe the bank. And so when you work out the interest for that period, you're going to use that amount as your principal instead of the 120,000, because you already paid $99 on that 100,000. So you're going to use that new amount as your principal. Okay. All right. So I want you to now do 15.7 fully on your own. Give you a few minutes and then we could look at it.
Miss Anna, we could get that table.
Oh, you,
miss.
okay, that's 12.5% for 35. Let's see. 12.5% for 35 years. Okay, what's the stable factor there?
10.56.
10.56. Okay. Okay, we should be finished now. All right, Ms. Roll, I want you to start that off. Tell me what you got, what you did. Ms. Roll, are you there?
Hi, I'm here.
Okay, so tell me what you did.
We're doing 7, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I found of course, I found the mortgage amount, which
How
would
much is that?
159,000,
Okay.
and then the monthly payment
Mm-hmm.
would be not 100, sorry, $1,698.12.
That's the 10.68
10.68 times 159.
10.68.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Times 159. And how much you say you got?
$1,698.12.
Sorry. 1,698.12.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then how did you get the interest portion of that payment now?
I think I was calculating that just now, so it would be the $1,698.12 times
No, it's your principal times rate times time.
principal. Okay, so 159,000
Mm-hmm. 159,000.
times 0.11.
The interest rate?
Interest rate is 11%, right?
No. We're looking at 15-7.
5.7. Okay. Okay, so the interest rate is 12.5%.
Mm-hmm. That's
Okay,
0.
so okay, 1 moment.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be 12.5%, right?
Yeah, 12.5%, yeah. Times 0. So when you change that to a decimal, what do you get? 12.5%.
The decimal would be, hold on a minute, let's turn it now. When I change the decimal, it wouldn't be 12.5. Hold on.
Yeah, 12.5 would still be a percent. 12.5% and 12.5% is the same thing, but now we want to change that 12.5% to just straight decimal. So you get divided by 100. Divide the 12.5 by 100. That's what you get.
Oh, sorry, I had my phone, I had my thing on muted. I thought you could have me at 0.125.
125. Okay. Times for the time is
1/12.
1/12. Okay, so that's gonna be the 159,000.
So that'll be $1,656.25.
You said 1,000.
$656.25.
Okay. Now I think there is a mistake somewhere with the first part. Okay, that interest calculation is correct. But for 12.5% for 30 years, 35 years, that's 35 years. That table factor should be 10.56. Oops, 10.56. So when you multiply 10.56 times the 159,
Oh, okay.
let's see.
Okay, so it'll be $1,679.04.
Okay. All right. So your interest we worked out to be what's going on there? 1,656. Okay, 1,656.25. So how much is going towards the principal? How much is going towards the principal?
Lisa? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so it would be, let me just calculate it. $157,343.75. Oh,
No, I want you to tell me how much if your monthly payment is 1,679.04 and your interest portion is 1,656.25, how much of your monthly payment is going towards reducing your principal for that first month? Oh, how are you going to find that? Tell me what you need to do to find that.
so it will be I would minus $1,679.04 from the 1,656.
Well, you call the right figure, but you're going to subtract the smaller one from the bigger one.
Yeah,
You understand me?
yes.
Okay, so what's the answer?
$22.79.
Okay. And so what will be your balance at the end of the month? How are you going to find that?
The balance at the end of the month would be the principal minus the $22.79.
Okay. So you're going to subtract the 22.79 from the 159,000.
Mhm. $158,977.21.
Say that again, $158,900 and
$77.21.
okay. Thank you very much. Everybody else got that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Now, look at that principal payment. That principal portion is $22.79. Why do you think it's so low? Anybody could take a guess as to why you think that that's such a small amount. You make such a big payment of $1,679 a month, and only $22 is going towards the principal. Why you think that is the case with this question?
My assumption is the high down payment. Because if you
Not
like, no.
well.
I just said that
The down payment is fairly high compared to the rest, but that is not what's causing that principal to be so low. Is another high fact number there.
But that the rate, interest rate.
The rate, right? That rate is 12.5%. So with such a high rate, more of the money is going towards interest than with the other questions we're looking at. The other questions we're looking at 7% or probably less. But the higher the interest rate, the more interest the bank is getting from your payments, and so the lower the amount that you will be getting towards equity to reduce your balance. So that's one of the reasons. And also the time for this loan is 35 years. The longer you take to pay, then it is the slower the process of you paying off and increasing your equity in the mortgage. So two factors are causing your principal portion to be low with this question. The fact that you have a higher amount of time period to pay and the interest rate is significantly higher. Remember when we look at 9% and 11%, you see a difference. Now we're looking at 12.5%, which would be even higher than 11% when you compare it. Okay, so all right, so the last question I want you to look at, the 15.8. This person bought a log cabin for $70,000, 11% interest for 30 years. They want you to prepare an amortization schedule for 3 periods. Okay. Mhm. Okay. Now, in this question, it doesn't seem as if there is, we're not looking at any deposit. So the full $70,000 would be your principal. Okay. And let's just look at the table quickly for 11% for 30 years. Let me see, 11% for 30 years. Okay, 11% for 30 years. The table factor is what? Anybody see that? What's the table factor?
9.53.
9.53. Okay, so that's what we're going to use for a table factor there. All right. So they want you to do it for the first 3 periods. So we only did, so far we have only been looking at 1 period. Now they want 3 periods here. I give you a couple minutes to look at it, and then we discuss it. Okay, so let me see. What do I have here? Ms. Thompson, can I start with you? Tell me what you did so far.
Okay, so what I did was I did the 70,000 divided by 1,000 equals 70, and the 9.53 times 70 equals 667.10 to give me
You said what you did with the 70?
times 9.5.
Okay, 70 times 9.53, and that gives you how much?
667.10.
Okay, so the monthly payment is $667.10. All right. And so for payment number 1, okay, we have 1, 2, and 3. So what did you get as the interest for payment number 1?
The interest I did 70,000 times 7%, 6 times 1/12,
Okay, 70,000 times
0.11.
times 1/12.
So
And how much you got?
641.66.
641.66. Okay. And so 641.66, your monthly is 667.10. So how much goes towards the principal?
25.44.
Okay, that's 25.44. Okay. So your balance at the end of that first month,
69,974.56.
56. Okay. All right. Thank you. Miss Heald. That was Miss Thompson. Miss Heald.
Hi.
You concur with that first step?
I am looking at it. I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know if you concur? So what's different with what you did?
What I did was I got, okay, as far as the 641, I don't know, I rounded it. I don't know if I should have. 641.66, I rounded it. So I have 67. And then for
Hold on. So you're saying to me, when you do,
when I did the 70,000 times 0.11 times 1 divided by 12, I got 641.66, a bunch of sixes. So I rounded it.
okay. All right, so that's by 1 cent. Okay. So that would be 67 cents. Okay. So you got 641.67. That's what you're saying.
Yes. But
Okay.
Something else too.
Okay. What else?
Okay, for the second step, I did to find the principal. I subtract the monthly payment from the interest. I must be calculated now.
What's your monthly payment?
My monthly payment is 667.10.
The same thing that we have here, 667.10. And you say you subtract the 641.67.
That's my bad because I calculated it wrong. I have the amounts correct, but the answer I must have typed something wrong in the calculator. Because I have a major difference. I get $254.30.
Oh, you that's a decimal point.
That's a major difference.
Yeah. So I think
But when I recalculated it just now, I got 25.43. So I agree.
All right, 67.10 minus 641 point let me see something, 0.67. $25.43. So we're off by 1 cent here, so that's 43. All right. So that should be 25.43. So right here, then we should have what's that? 57 cents. 57. So we're going to say 7,000 minus the 2543, $69,974.57. So we were off by 1 cent. Okay. All right. So Miss He, who was? Okay, Miss Hill, I want you to tell me what you did for step 2. What is? Yeah.
Okay, I have not started step 2, so I can go through it while I calculate.
Okay. So what do we do?
So
We have to, mhm.
for the second one, we would take the 69,974.57 times 0.11.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 over 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I got $641.43.
Mm-hmm.
So to find the principal, we will
Mm-hmm.
be subtracting the monthly payment from the new interest amount.
The other way around. You're subtracting the interest from the monthly payment.
Okay.
Mhm.
6, 7, 8, 9.
So what is the difference?
I got 25.67.
Okay. And so what will be our new balance at the end of month 2?
$69,948.98.
69,9.
48.
Mm-hmm.
90.
90. Okay, thank you much. All right, Mr. Butler. So Butler, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. So we're taking
Are you following? Are you getting the same results we have so far?
yes, sir. So
Okay.
what we're gonna do for step 3 is taking the balance from 1, 2, which is 6,9,948 times 90. And then we are times 0.11 times 1 over 2.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer for that is too much figures. Too much figures. 1 second. $641 and 19 cents. Well, 641 and 20 cents if you round it.
Okay. 641.20. All right.
And so the difference, and the principal would be the difference from the interest from month 2. That is no, I didn't get it.
Your monthly payment is how much?
The monthly payment is $667.10.
Right. So when you get your interest, you have to take the interest away from your monthly payment to find out how much goes towards the principal.
Right. So that comes up to $25.90.
Okay. So you're going to reduce now, you're going to reduce your overall balance by $25.90.
Which is 699.90 minus 25.90. Give us 699.23 flat.
699.2.00.
9.923.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Okay, doke. So that's it. So we did 3 payments out of the 360, because 30 years, 12 times a year, that would be 360 times that would have to be done. So thank God for computers where this could be automatically worked out, or spreadsheets that we could work it out, because if we had to do that manually, it would be very, very tedious. Okay. But you should kind of get the idea of it from what we have done so far. Each time we calculate the interest, we subtract it from the monthly payments to find out how much you're going to reduce your principal by. And each month your principal is reduced by a different amount based on what the balance is for that month. Okay. And we keep doing this until we finish making the payments. And as you do this, you will see that the amount that goes towards reducing your principal keeps increasing, very slow at first, very gradual, sometimes just by cents. But as time goes on, it increases, and then the interest portion will decrease with time. Okay, so that's the procedure there. All right, so if there are no questions, that actually brings us to the end of the exercises we have to do for this chapter. I didn't see anybody submit homework. Let me double check my email. I didn't see any homework submission for last class. No. So if you did it, please submit it so you could get credit for it. Miss Hill, I think I saw something from the previous one, so I did change that score to 50% to 100 since you did the second part. But if you did the last one, you could send that in so we could give you credit for it. So this is your homework for next class, the 27th of November. You didn't get too much this time. And the questions are right here. So what I did, I put a little green arrow next to the questions you're supposed to do. since the page numbers are not shown here. So you have number 2, number 3, number 4, number 1A, 1B, and then number 2 and number 4 on this other slide. And in fact, if you check your email, you should see I already emailed that to you, the PowerPoint presentation. And the answers are here. So if you don't get the answer, then you know what you need to do to let me know so I could assist you in terms of trying to figure out what you needed to do to get the answer that is in the slide. Also, there is a test which I included in the email. So I want you to download that test, print it, write on the printed copy, and send that back to me. You either take a picture or scan it. I prefer if you scan it, because sometimes when you take the picture, there's a lot of shadow and it ends up printing with dark spots, which sometimes is difficult to see when you mark. So if you can scan it, that would be preferable. But if you can't, then you take a picture and send it to me by Tuesday afternoon. And yeah, okay. So if there are no other questions, I think that is it. You got off a little early today, but I guess that make up for last week where you got off a little late. So I will see you all next week, God's willing.
Mr. Allen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the homework, the same question with Ms. Hill was asking about 3. I was having issues with that as well, 3 and 4. Could you send me your response to number 3, please, so I can look at it?
Okay.
I
So,
couldn't figure that out for that.
all right. We could look at that right now.
Okay. You look at 3 and 4 then.
Okay, so let me pull up the question. Yeah. Let's see. That was okay. Question 3 was the one with the Shelly Katz deposited $30,000 in a savings account at 5% compounded semi-annually. At the beginning of year 4, she deposited an additional $80,000 at 5%. At the end of 6 years, what is the balance? Okay, so with that question, the first part of that you have to work out, well, the number of periods is equal to that 30,000. She only did that 30,000 for 3 years. All right, because they said at the beginning of year 4, she deposited an additional 80,000. So that 30,000 she kept invested for 3 years. So the number of periods for 3 years semi-annually would be equal to 3 times 2, which is equal to 6. And the rate per period would be equal to 5 divided by 2, which is equal to 2.5%. Now, the question, the book does not have 2.5% in the table. So you'd have to use the formula for that. All right. So you would use the formula, but you would use it to find the amount that you would have for $30,000 after 3 years. So Once you find the answer for that, then you're going to add $80,000 to it. And so your new principal now for the next 3 years will be the answer for the first part plus 80,000. And you're going to find the, this is going to be the same, n equals 6, r equals 2.5, because that's another 3 years. Because it says at the end of 3 years, you want to find out what is the balance. At the end of 6 years, sorry. So the beginning of 4 years to the end of 6 years would be another 3 years. So end at the beginning of 4 years, so that's year 4, year 5, year 6. That's 3 years again. So the first part would be with the $30,000 as your investment. It's n equals 6, r equals 2.5. You're going to use the formula, work out what that would be. And then the next portion, you're going to still out, because it's still going to be year 4, 5, and 6. So that's 3 times 2 equals 6 periods. The rate is going to be equal to 5/2, which is equal to 2.5%. So you're going to use the formula again, but this time you're going to, the answer from, let's call this A and this B. So you're going to say answer from A plus 80,000. Okay, so you're going to plug in the answer from A plus 80,000, and you're going to use the formula with that to find out what the full amount would be after the next 3 years. And that answer, because you're using the formula, it's going to differ from the answer that is on the slide by, I think, about $1, because the book used the formula. They have another attached book with the formula for the table for 2.5%, but since we're using the formula, it's going to be slightly different. Okay, so you could try that. Now, if you still don't get it, then we could go with more detail into the working. Now, for question number 4, it says Earl Miller owned a Papa Gino's franchise. Owner of a Papa Gino's franchise wants to buy a new delivery truck in 6 years. He estimates the truck will cost $30,000. If Earl invests $20,000 now at 5% interest compounded semi-annually, will Earl have enough money to buy his truck at the end of 6 years? Okay, so basically what you're trying to do there, you're trying to find out how much will he earn from $20,000 if he invested for 6 years at 5% compounded semi-annually. If you find out, if when you work that out, you need to see if it comes to 30,000. If it comes to 30,000 or more, he could buy the truck. If it comes to less than $30,000, he can't buy the truck because he wants to get $30,000. So there are 2 ways you could tackle this question. You could either find out how much the $20,000 will give him in 6 years, or you could find out if he wants to save, he wants to earn $30,000 in 6 years, how much he must invest today. So you could use present value if you use the 30,000, or you could use future value. So we have 2 tables that we looked at in that chapter. The future value you would use if you were doing the 20,000. You want to find out how much 20,000 will grow to in 6 years at 5% compounded semi-annually. See if that 20,000 will grow to 30,000 or more, then he's good. But if the answer you get is less than 30,000, then he can't work it. He can't buy the truck. Now, if you use the 30,000, you want to find out how much must I invest today to get $30,000. All right. So if you use the 30,000, you're going to say, okay, if I want to get $30,000 in 6 years' time, how much must I invest today? So if you work that out and you find out that you have to invest more than 20,000, that means it's not going to work for you because you only have 20,000. But if you find out that you could invest less than 20,000 to get the 30,000, then that means you could buy the truck. So you could work this from two angles. I think you will see two answers in the slide to show the different approaches you could use, either using the future value or the present value. Makes any sense? Hello?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay, all right. So that's all. So you could attempt it, and then you could next week, or you could send me an email if you still didn't get it, and then I could probably go a little further. But I prefer if you try to work it out first and see if you get the answer that is in the
Okay.
all right.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right, so that's it for today then. And I trust all goes well, and we'll see you next week, Saturday, God's willing. Bye-bye.